This is the fastest way to learn to speak a foreign language. All you're going to need is a spreadsheet like this one and some creativity. So you're going to have to sit down and come up with everything that you want to be able to say in the language that you want to speak. And you're going to write it here. Think of every situation you think you will have, every conversation you usually have, or that you think you will have in the new language. Everything you normally talk about, every conversation topic that you usually talk about, or that you think you will talk about. And for each one of those, you write every single sentence you think you will say, or everything you want to say. This will require some work. I don't recommend you use AI for this, by the way. A lot of people ask me about this, and AI is is not you. AI doesn't speak the way you speak, and if you learn, and you can learn AI generated sentences, I do use that for other purposes, but for this exercise, I think it's not effective because you will not learn to speak the way you normally speak. You want to sound natural, right? For the same reason, I can just give you a list to learn because I don't speak the same way you speak. I don't speak about the same topics. I don't have the same experiences. I don't tell the same stories, etc. So you need to write your own. You can use mine or other sentences to get ideas. You can inspire yourself in other people's lists, but you need to come up with your own sentences. I know it's hard work, but if you want results, you need to do it, right? And once you've written at least 1,000 sentences, I recommend 1,000 sentences. You can just take a day or two and write as much as you can, and then keep adding more stuff to the list because you're never really done. There's always something that you have forgotten, but you can continue updating the list every day or regularly. And once you've got a decent list, what you need to do is translate everything into the target language. So you get your native language or English here, and then your target language here. And you're going to start learning the sentences. See, you see, there's a lot of repetition here. That's good because the more repetition there is, the easier it will be to learn the sentence structures, learn all the grammar in context without studying the rules. So a lot of repetition, a lot of similar sentences, all of them useful, relatively useful sentences, things that you at some point you'll say, not just like the elephant eats the banana or things like that. I guess if you go to the zoo, you can use that, but not very likely. Um, Things that you would say, and then you create audio files out of this. Use text to speech software, and you can really do it two ways. You could be really lazy and just read and listen to the list daily over and over and over again, and it will work. And it will work much better than watching random videos. If you have 1,000 sentences, your own sentences for conversation, that's around an hour of audio. If you listen to that for 100 hours, you will be able to say all those sentences well, relatively well, right? If you don't practice your speaking skills, still, your speaking will be a little bit weird. But if you just want to listen and read, you can. After writing your own lines, if you just do it with random stuff, your speaking will never be very good. So, what I recommend you do is review the list over and over again, read it, memorize the vocabulary with mnemonic associations, listen to the audio files over and over again, and once it starts sounding familiar, or if you want to improve fast from day one, you can do this really. You start shadowing. You start listening and repeating the sentences over and over again, trying to sound as close as possible. You can do this with the regular audio files, each sentence once. Or you can do this with an extra audio file that you can create in which each sentence is repeated 5 times. And if you do it this way, it takes longer to repeat the whole list, obviously, because it's 5 times the amount of minutes. But repeating each sentence aloud 5 times will help you pronounce it much better. And also just remember the sentences and the vocab much better, and just learn the right pronunciation in the language from the very beginning. So I highly recommend you do this. 20, 30 minutes a day of repetitive, boring work, that's really effective. Shadowing each sentence repeated 5 times, over and over and over again. Um, Finally, and this is difficult and frustrating, but uh, highly effective for fluency and also to make fewer mistakes, I highly recommend you do active recall with the sentences. This should be the last exercise because it's by far the most difficult, and it's, well, basically impossible unless you've already been listening and reading and shadowing the sentences. Active recall is basically reading the base language, so English, whatever your native language is, and you try to say it in the target language without looking. You translate it aloud, and then you check and you see if you said it correctly or not, and you repeat it aloud correctly if you made mistakes. And I guarantee you'll make lots of mistakes in the beginning, but if you do this regularly, your speaking will get way better, and you'll make much fewer mistakes, and you'll just learn to think in the language. It'll be much easier because you've been doing this all the time instead of just doing it when you're in front of people. So this is it. This is what I recommend you do every single day. Keep adding sentences to the list, things you want to say or that you will have to say, and then just listen to the list, repeat the sentences aloud over and over again. If the vocab's difficult, like this is Turkish, vocab's difficult here. If you're learning French or Spanish, maybe in the beginning with a few keywords you can do mnemonics, but for the most part, it's similar enough, and you'll be fine. Just repeat the sentences aloud, and then just yeah, translate into the language, active recall. And this is it. This is really the secret to learning to speak foreign languages fast.